Joining us, staff writer for The Atlantic and MS Now political contributor Mark Leibovich. Tim Miller is still with us. So, Mark, Stephen Miller's remit has only expanded, as the Journal points out, over this administration, this term. Why does Donald Trump put so much trust in Miller?
I think Miller does exactly what Donald Trump wants. I mean, to say that there are no safeguards, that there is no pushback from any of Trump's aides is kind of it's obvious at this point. But Miller is the most id of the id, if you want to put it that way. I mean, he is not going to he's going to appeal to Donald Trump's most extreme instincts. And I do think that these instincts, especially now that he's not up for re-election, Trump isn't up for re-election, is not really checked by anything. And I think what you're seeing is other members of the administration are actually seeing how this is playing, and it makes them vulnerable, and it makes certainly Republicans more vulnerable in the midterms, because these ICE raids and all the fallout from them have been very much, I think, harmful to Republicans. But also Stephen Miller has been the face of this, and he's not a very, very nice looking face, to be honest with you.
There's been a lot of pushback from Republicans in Congress. I'm sorry, there hasn't been a lot. There's been some pushback from Republicans in Congress on Miller. I saw that face, Tim. But it's noticeable because we usually don't hear anything. You had Tom Tillis saying Stephen Miller is terrible. I'm paraphrasing, but saying that he always doesn't fail to lower his expectations. And it's clear that what he has done, what he has pushed in Minneapolis, is unpopular. The American public broadly does not support it. They were horrified by what they saw with Alex Preddy, and horrified by Miller, who came out immediately after and called him a domestic terrorist and said that he was there to massacre law enforcement, and showed the picture of the gun that Kristi Noem said he was brandishing. So there has been reaction to it, reaction that the president himself, Tim, has responded to, or at least understands. Is there nothing that Stephen Miller can do, no line that he can cross, that will make the president, Donald Trump, maybe take a moment, take a breath and pause and say, maybe this guy is not so good for me?
Boy, I hate to agree with Lindsey Graham, but I think you forced me into that position right now. I just don't think so. Look, Stephen Miller has been there from the beginning. You would remember this, Katie, better than anybody, and he would speak at rallies, like going back to 2015 for Trump, because Trump recognized at the time that he, had kind of an ideological bearing and an appeal to a certain part of his base that for Trump was a little bit performative, right? That he was not quite as deeply passionate or ideological on some of the matters that particularly around immigration that Stephen Miller is. So he's been there from the beginning. He was in the good graces of Ivanka and Jared. I think the Jared and Ivanka who tried, who knows how hard, but at least played lip service to trying to moderate some of Trump's successes in the first term, recognized that they needed Stephen Miller because he was more in touch with the base than they were. And so he survived all that. He survived Trump in the wilderness. So I don't know what it would be now that would push him out. And there's also, I think it's worth noting, a pretty minimal number of people in the administration that seem capable of doing things that are effective bureaucrats, if you want to put it that way. And I think Stephen Miller, Russ Vought, and Marco have been the main ones in this second term. Maybe Scott Bessent. And so who would Trump turn to if not for him? There's not a clear heir to that role. So I think that he's there as long as he wants to be there.
You're right to point out that he spoke at rallies in 2015, but at the time, and I remember one distinctly in Dallas, and it was in the NBA arena in Dallas, and he got on stage and he started talking, and the crowd was huge. And they didn't seem to pay attention to him, though. That's what I noticed, that there was a kind of a whisper in the crowd, who is this guy and why is he yelling at all of us? That was early, though. Mark, in the Wall Street Journal, Josh Dawsey reports on how Stephen Miller convinces Donald Trump to do things. He often uses out-of-context, graphic, or gory images to get Donald Trump's attention and to influence policy. What is it about Donald Trump being influenced by graphic or gory images?
Well, it's just a question of knowing your client. Stephen Miller knows that this is going to sell very, very compellingly to his boss. he'll throw it at him. He knows that Donald Trump is not going to rigorously push back on anything or rigorously sort of press him on facts and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, it's just sort of good internal management. I mean, whether that translates into external messaging or not, or certainly helping your credibility with the public is another story entirely. But obviously, it's just Stephen Miller taking the, I think, very obvious lessons of who his boss is and what he listens to over many, many years and just sort of pushing it in front of him.